Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. Raised fist medium dark skin tone. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. The Maxwell House, a testament to timeless elegance, stood where Kensington met London. Its stately stone facade, with its soaring windows, drank in the morning light, while sprawling gardens seemed to defy the seasons, perpetually in bloom. Roses draped themselves over trellises with quiet pride, apple trees bowed with the weight of summer's bounty, and the central fountain murmured a soft, constant melody, a gentle whisper that carried even on the stillest nights. Neighbors would pause, captivated by the sight, and speak in hushed tones of the Maxwells, a family for whom life itself appeared to bend in their favor. The house was the domain of Frederick and Helen Maxwell, a couple whose influence spanned oceans, from the bustling financial hubs of England to the sprawling markets of America. Frederick, a man in his early 50s, was a commanding presence. His sharp features and hair streaked with silver gave him an air of dignified authority. He had built an empire of finance, shipping, and luxury hotels, and in the high-stakes world of boardrooms, he was a figure of both respect and fear. Yet, all of that melted away at home, replaced by a profound tenderness whenever his daughter spoke his name. Helen Maxwell was his graceful counterpart, beloved in different circles. She dedicated her life to philanthropy, her gentle spirit a constant force in hospitals, schools, and charities across London. It was said she had a heart that gave as effortlessly as it beat, and her radiant smile had the rare power to make everyone, from the wealthiest to the most destitute, feel seen and valued. Their greatest treasure, however, resided within the walls of their magnificent home. Their only child, Olivia Maxwell. At just 9 years old, Olivia was a whirlwind of joyous energy, with eyes the color of a summer sky and long, chestnut hair that shimmered like silk in the sun. She was the soul of the garden, her laughter echoing as she chased butterflies with her easel, capturing their fleeting beauty in splashes of yellow and blue. She was a child of both tender spirit and bold creativity, and her masterpieces were always destined for one person, Rachel. Rachel Phillips, the Maxwells' maid, was more than an employee. She was family. In her late 40s, Rachel was a woman of quiet strength and deep resilience. Originally from Manchester, her warm brown skin, calm eyes, and strong hands were a map of a life not easily lived. She had grown up in a small, crowded house with 5 siblings, often overlooked, sometimes unfairly judged. Work had been her anchor, and she moved through the world with a steady, dependable grace. She never sought attention or recognition, yet every household she served noticed the sense of peace and order she left in her wake. When Rachel joined the Maxwell household 5 years earlier, she seamlessly became its quiet heartbeat. The meals were always ready, the linens fresh, the flowers vibrant. But most importantly, she became the person Olivia trusted above all others. It was Rachel who sat with Olivia during thunderstorms, holding her until the fear subsided. She listened to stories of school and dreams, braided Olivia's hair, cheered for her dances, and wiped away tears from small falls. She had, without ever claiming the title, become a second mother to the little girl. Then an unexpected storm arrived. One summer afternoon, Olivia came in from the garden, her steps heavy and slow. Helen noticed her daughter's pallid face and asked if she was tired, but Olivia only nodded. At first, they dismissed it as exhaustion or a minor childhood illness. But as Olivia grew weaker and lost weight with each passing week, a terrible unease settled over the Maxwells. They rushed her to St. Mary's Hospital, where a battery of tests led to a diagnosis that shattered their world. Olivia had leukemia. The news hit with physical force. Helen crumpled into a chair, her face buried in her hands as sobs tore through her. Frederick stood rigid, his jaw clenched, as if his sheer would undo the words he had just heard. Their perfect world crumbled. Helen spent her days weeping, barely sleeping, clinging to Olivia's blanket when her daughter was too ill to be in her own bed. Frederick, in his desperation to find a solution, buried himself in work, arranging for the world's best doctors and flying in specialists from Boston. He spent money without thought, a frantic, futile attempt to buy his daughter's health. But money could not shield Olivia from what followed. The chemotherapy treatments were brutal, long, and painful. They left the once vibrant child frail, exhausted, and unable to eat. The sound of her laughter was replaced by the silent, steady beeping of hospital machines. Worst of all, her beautiful hair, the hair she loved to decorate with ribbons, began to fall out in clumps. One evening, as she sat before her mirror, Olivia touched the bare patches on her scalp with trembling fingers. "I don't want to look at myself," she whispered, her voice a fragile thing. "I look ugly, Mom. I don't want Daddy to see me. I don't even want Rachel to see me." Helen felt her chest tighten with a pain so sharp it stole her breath. She wrapped her arms around her daughter, her own tears silently falling onto Olivia's shoulders. But Olivia only turned away, her eyes clouded with shame. From the doorway, Rachel, holding a tray of soup, saw and heard everything. She placed the tray gently on a table, her hands shaking. "Olivia," she said softly, "shall I read you a story later?" But Olivia simply pulled the blanket over her face. A deep ache settled in Rachel's chest. She retreated to her small room, a simple space with a bed, a dresser, a mirror, and a Bible on her nightstand. She knelt, her hands clasped tightly, and wept as she prayed for the little girl she loved as her own. Sleep wouldn't come. Her mind replayed Olivia's words, her fear of the mirror, her broken spirit. Rachel had known her own share of hardship, of feeling invisible and dismissed. She understood the pain of feeling less than. The thought of Olivia, carrying such a heavy burden at such a young age, stirred something deep within her. What if she could carry a piece of that burden? What if she could stand with Olivia in her pain, not just with words, but with a powerful, visible act of solidarity? Before the sun rose the next morning, Rachel sat before her own mirror. Her hands trembled as she picked up a pair of clippers. She touched her thick black hair, paused for a moment, and whispered, "Lord, give me courage." The buzzing sound filled the quiet room as bit by bit her hair fell to the floor. When she was finished, her head was completely bald. She stared at her reflection, a stranger staring back. Yet deep inside, she felt a profound sense of peace. She knew what she had to do. Later that morning, Rachel carried Olivia's breakfast upstairs. Helen was by the bed, gently brushing the last, thinning strands from her daughter's hair. When Olivia lazily turned her head and saw Rachel, she gasped. "Rachel, your hair," she whispered, her eyes wide with shock. Rachel set the tray down and knelt beside the bed. She smiled gently, touching her own bare head. "If you must walk this road, you will not walk it alone. If you are bald, then so am I." Olivia stared in disbelief. Slowly, her small hand reached out and touched Rachel's smooth scalp. Her lips quivered, then turned upward into a small, fragile smile. A soft giggle, real and true, escaped her lips. She threw her arms around Rachel. "Now you look like me," she whispered. Helen covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. In that single, breathtaking moment, she understood that all the doctors, all the medicine, and all their wealth could never buy the gift of love and sacrifice that Rachel had just given. From that day forward, Olivia's spirit began to mend. She stopped hiding from the mirror. She and Rachel started tying scarves around their heads, choosing bright colors and patterns. "We're twins," Rachel would say, and Olivia would giggle, squeezing her hand. The journey remained hard, with painful treatments and long nights of sickness. But in the darkest moments, it was often Rachel who was there, holding Olivia's hand, whispering prayers, and singing hymns with a low, steady voice that was a comfort in the storm. One night, Frederick passed Olivia's room and stopped. He saw Rachel sitting by the bed, her bald head gleaming under the lamp, while Olivia slept peacefully, her small hand clutching Rachel's. Leaning against the wall, his eyes stinging, Frederick understood. He had a fortune beyond measure, but in that moment, he was looking at something no money could ever buy: true love and unwavering loyalty. Weeks turned into months. Olivia fought with a surprising resilience. "Her spirit is keeping her alive," one doctor remarked. Then one morning, Helen burst into the kitchen, breathless. "Rachel, come quickly," she cried. Rachel hurried upstairs to find Olivia standing before a mirror, her face alight with joy. "Look, Rachel," she shouted, pointing at her head. Tiny new strands of hair were beginning to grow. "We're growing back together." Rachel's throat tightened with emotion, and they both laughed and cried as they embraced. Months later, tests confirmed it. Olivia was in remission. The cancer was gone. The Maxwell family hosted a celebration in their garden, a joyous gathering of friends, family, and the doctors who had helped them. Laughter filled the air, music played, and the tables overflowed with food. Olivia, wearing a white dress and crown of flowers, her short, newly grown hair framing her face, radiated happiness. When it came time to cut the cake, she didn't take her parent hands. Instead, she reached for Rachel's. "This is my hero," she announced at Quiet Garden. She shaved her head so I wouldn't feel alone. She stayed with me when I was afraid. She's the reason I kept going. Many guests wiped tears from their eyes. Frederick and Helen looked at Rachel with a gratitude so profound it was beyond words. They knew their wealth had bought medicine, but Rachel's gift had given Olivia something far more powerful: hope. That evening, as the stars began to sparkle, Olivia sat on Rachel's lap beneath the apple tree. "Promise me you'll never leave," she whispered. Rachel kissed her forehead softly. "As long as you want me, I will be here." And she meant it. The story of Rachel Phillips and Olivia Maxwell spread quietly beyond Kensington. Some called it a story of sacrifice, others of courage. But those who truly understood knew it was a story of love, a love that transcended wealth, class, and race, a love that healed where medicine could not. In the end, the lesson was clear. True wealth is not found in riches, but in compassion. The greatest acts are often not grand or loud, but simple sacrifices that remind us we are never alone.